At 62, Mark opened his Social Security estimate and saw three numbers that seemed to ask one simple question. Take the money now, wait until full retirement age, or wait all the way to 70. His estimated full retirement benefit at age 67 was $2,000 a month. Under current rules for someone born in 1960 or later, claiming at 62 can reduce that amount by as much as 30%. In Mark's simplified example, that would put the age 62 benefit near $1,400 a month. If he waited until 67, the example benefit would be $2,000 a month. If he delayed until 70, the example benefit would be about $2,480 a month. Mark stared at the first number and had an immediate reaction. Why would I turn down money that I can receive today? His wife Susan looked at the last number and had a different reaction. What if you live into your 90s? Then a friend offered the advice people hear all the time. Just calculate the break-even age. That sounds sensible. It is also incomplete. Break-even math can answer one useful question. It can estimate the age when the cumulative dollars from a later claiming strategy catch up with the cumulative dollars from an earlier strategy. But Social Security is not only a race between three piles of checks. It is part of a retirement income system. The claiming age can change how much you withdraw from investments. It can change how much guaranteed monthly income you have later in life. It can affect a surviving spouse. It can interact with work income. It can interact with taxes. And it can change how much financial pressure your household carries when markets, health, and life do not cooperate. So the real question is not simply which age wins the break-even race. The real question is which claiming age makes the rest of your retirement plan stronger. Before we compare 62, 67, and 70, one detail matters. The numbers in this example are hypothetical. Your actual Social Security benefit depends on your earnings record and your claiming date. The rules also depend on your year of birth. For people born in 1960 or later, full retirement age is currently 67. Retirement benefits can currently begin as early as age 62. Starting before full retirement age generally produces a permanently lower monthly retirement benefit. Waiting after full retirement age generally increases the monthly retirement benefit through delayed retirement credits until age 70. There is no additional delayed retirement increase for waiting beyond 70. Those rules give Mark a clean illustration. $1,400 at 62, $2,000 at 67, $2,480 at 70. Now let us do the break-even math before we explain why it is not enough. If Mark claims at 62, he receives 60 months of checks before age 67. At $1,400 a month, that is $84,000 before the age 67 strategy has paid its first check. Starting at 67, the later strategy pays $600 more each month in this simplified comparison. At that difference, the age 67 path needs about 11 years and 8 months after 67 to catch the earlier path. That puts the simple break-even point around age 78 and 8 months. Now compare 67 with 70. Claiming $2,000 a month at 67 creates a $72,000 head start over the 3 years before age 70. At 70, Mark's example benefit is $480 a month higher. That difference takes about 12.5 years to recover the $72,000 head start. The simple break-even age is therefore around 82.5. Now compare 62 directly with 70. Claiming at 62 creates 8 years of early checks before the age 70 strategy begins. At $1,400 a month, that head start is $134,400. At 70, the monthly difference between the two strategies is $1,080. In a simple calculation that ignores taxes, investment returns, exact benefit adjustments, and other complications, the later strategy catches up a little after age 80. These calculations are useful. They tell Mark that longevity matters. If he dies relatively early, the early strategy may have delivered more cumulative checks. If he lives long enough, the larger later benefit can eventually overtake it. But this is where people often stop thinking too soon. The break-even age does not tell Mark where the money comes from while he waits. It does not tell him what happens to Susan if he dies first. It does not tell him whether he is still working at 62. It does not tell him how much of the benefit may become taxable. It does not tell him whether his portfolio can comfortably finance the delay. It does not tell him whether he values higher guaranteed income at 85 more than higher cash flow at 62, and it does not tell him what problem Social Security is supposed to solve in his retirement plan. That is why break-even math should be the beginning of the discussion, not the end. The first issue is cash flow. Suppose Mark retires at 62 and claims immediately. The $1,400 monthly benefit begins helping with household expenses right away. That is $16,800 a year of gross Social Security income in this simple example. If Mark and Susan need the income, that money has real value today. It may reduce how much they need to withdraw from their portfolio. It may reduce the pressure on their cash reserve. It may allow them to retire when they otherwise could not. That does not make claiming early a mistake. It means Mark is exchanging a smaller future monthly benefit for income now. The trade can be reasonable. Now suppose Mark retires at 62 but decides to wait until 70. He has created an 8-year gap with no retirement benefit from his own record. That gap must be financed somehow. Maybe Susan is still working. Maybe they have a pension. Maybe they have cash savings. Maybe Mark works part-time. Maybe they withdraw more from investments. The funding source changes the value of waiting. Imagine they need roughly $17,000 a year from the portfolio to replace the Social Security Mark could have claimed at 62. Over 8 years, that is a large amount of portfolio support before we even discuss investment returns or taxes. If markets are strong, the portfolio may absorb that burden comfortably. If markets are weak early in retirement, the withdrawals may feel much more expensive. This is one of the biggest weaknesses in a pure break-even calculation. It compares Social Security checks with Social Security checks. A retirement plan has to compare the entire household balance sheet with the entire household balance sheet. Waiting can create a larger guaranteed monthly benefit. But waiting can also require more spending from other assets during the bridge years. Neither fact should be ignored. This is why two people with identical Social Security estimates can rationally choose different ages. One person may have a large portfolio and a strong pension. Waiting may be easy to finance. Another person may have limited savings and a large spending gap. Waiting may force withdrawals that make the rest of the plan fragile. The claiming decision is not isolated from the portfolio. The second issue is longevity. Social Security is unusual because the retirement benefit continues as long as the beneficiary remains entitled and alive. That makes a larger monthly benefit increasingly important in a very long retirement. Mark does not know whether he will live to 74, 84, or 94. No calculator can know that for him. Health and family history can inform the discussion, but they cannot remove uncertainty. This uncertainty is exactly why the claiming decision is partly about insurance against living a long time. If Mark delays and reaches his late 80s or 90s, the larger monthly check may become one of the strongest parts of his income plan. The portfolio may have experienced several bear markets by then. Inflation may have changed the cost of everyday life. Medical and care needs may be different. A larger guaranteed income stream can matter more at that stage than it seemed to matter at 62. This does not mean a person with a long life expectancy must wait until 70. It means longevity should be treated as a risk to manage, not just a date in a break-even table. The third issue is the difference between guaranteed income and liquid assets. Suppose Mark waits until 70 and uses investments during the waiting years. He is effectively exchanging some liquid portfolio wealth for a larger future Social Security income stream. That exchange may improve longevity protection, but it also reduces the amount of liquid money he controls directly. Some retirees value guaranteed income very highly. Others place more value on liquidity, flexibility, or leaving assets to heirs. Neither preference can be captured by a break-even age alone. $1 of Social Security income and $1 sitting in a brokerage account do not have identical characteristics. One is part of an ongoing monthly benefit system. The other is an asset the household owns and can spend, invest, gift, or leave behind. That difference matters when deciding how much of the portfolio to use while delaying. The fourth issue is marriage. Mark is not making this decision in a one-person household. Susan's future matters too. For married couples, the higher earner's claiming decision can be especially important because survivor benefits may depend on the deceased worker's benefit amount. Under current Social Security rules, delayed retirement credits earned by a worker can be reflected in the benefit calculation for a surviving spouse. That means Mark's decision to delay can potentially strengthen the income available to Susan if Mark dies first. This is not the same as the regular spousal benefit while both spouses are alive. A regular spouse's maximum benefit is generally based on up to 50% of the worker's full retirement age benefit, not the worker's higher amount created by delayed retirement credits. Survivor rules are different. That distinction is easy to miss. It also explains why married couples should not evaluate the higher earner using only that person's personal break-even age. Mark may die first. Susan may then live for many more years. If Mark is the higher earner, his claiming decision can influence the household's later life income after one spouse is gone. A single-person break-even calculator may not show the full value of that protection. Now reverse the situation. Suppose Susan has the stronger earnings record and Mark is the lower earner. Then the strategic importance may shift towards Susan's claiming decision instead. The household should identify whose benefit is most important for survivor protection. That question can matter more than trying to make both spouses claim at the same age. The fifth issue is work. Some people reach 62 and claim Social Security while continuing to earn wages. Under current 2026 rules, that can trigger the retirement earnings test before full retirement age. For someone under full retirement age for the entire year, the 2026 annual earnings limit is $24,480. Under the current rule, $1 of benefits is withheld for every $2 of earnings above that lower limit. A different and higher limit applies in the calendar year a person reaches full retirement age. For 2026, that higher limit is $65,160 for earnings before the month full retirement age is reached. Under that rule, $1 of benefits is withheld for every $3 above the higher limit. Beginning with the month full retirement age is reached, the retirement earnings test no longer applies. These limits can change from year to year, so a person watching this later should verify the current numbers directly with Social Security. The word withheld also needs explanation. Benefits withheld because of the earnings test are not necessarily treated as permanently lost in the way many people assume. After full retirement age, Social Security can recalculate the monthly benefit to account for months in which benefits were withheld because earnings were too high. That makes the work and claim decision more complicated than simply saying that benefits disappear. For Mark, this matters if he is thinking about claiming at 62 while continuing to earn a substantial salary. The headline benefit on his estimate may not equal the cash that actually arrives during those working years. That does not automatically mean he should delay. It means employment income belongs in the analysis. The sixth issue is taxes. Social Security benefits can be partly taxable at the federal level depending on filing status and combined income. Under current federal rules, up to 85% of Social Security benefits can be included in taxable income for some households. That does not mean the government taxes the benefit at an 85% tax rate. It means up to 85% of the benefit may be included in the income that is subject to the household's applicable tax rules. For an individual filer, current thresholds begin at combined income above $25,000. For a married couple filing jointly, the current threshold begins above $32,000. Combined income generally includes adjusted gross income, tax-exempt interest, and 1/2 of Social Security benefits. The tax picture can therefore change when Social Security begins. It can also change when IRA withdrawals, pensions, interest, dividends, or other income change. This matters because claiming age can alter the order in which retirement income sources enter the plan. Suppose Mark delays Social Security and spends more from a traditional IRA during his 60s. That creates one tax pattern. Suppose he claims Social Security early and withdraws less from the IRA. That creates another tax pattern. Neither pattern is automatically better. The better choice depends on the household's full tax situation. This is why a Social Security decision should not be separated from withdrawal planning. The seventh issue is inflation protection. Social Security retirement benefits are generally adjusted through cost of living adjustments when those adjustments apply. A larger starting benefit therefore creates a larger dollar base for future percentage adjustments. If Mark begins with $2,480 instead of $1,400 in this example, the same percentage increase produces a larger dollar increase. That does not make delaying free. Mark still gave up years of earlier checks to reach the larger base. But it does make the larger later benefit relevant to long-term purchasing power. This is another reason the decision can matter more at 85 than it appeared to matter at 62. The eighth issue is optionality. Money received early creates options too. A retiree can spend it. A retiree can use it to reduce portfolio withdrawals. A retiree can save part of it. A retiree can use it for debt or healthcare costs. That flexibility is real, but it is easy to exaggerate the idea that early claiming is automatically better because the money can be invested. To make that argument honestly, you have to include taxes, actual investment returns, risk, and the fact that the money may be spent rather than invested. You also have to compare the investment risk with the characteristics of a larger future Social Security benefit. A hypothetical market return is not the same thing as a Social Security claiming adjustment. The two should not be described as if they were identical investments. Now return to Mark and Susan. They have enough savings to cover their basic retirement plan, but they are not wealthy enough to ignore trade-offs. Mark is the higher earner. Susan has a smaller benefit on her own record. Their house is mostly paid off. They also have a diversified investment portfolio that will need to support part of their retirement spending. Mark wants to stop working at 62. Susan plans to work another 2 years. This creates several possible strategies. Strategy 1 is simple. Mark retires and claims at 62. His Social Security starts immediately. The portfolio carries less of the household spending burden during the first 8 years. But Mark permanently locks in the smaller monthly retirement benefit under the assumptions of this example. Strategy 2 is the middle path. Mark retires at 62 but waits until 67 to claim. The household covers 5 years without Mark's Social Security retirement benefit. At 67, Mark begins the full retirement age amount in the simplified example. This requires more portfolio support than claiming at 62, but less bridge funding than waiting to 70. Strategy 3 is to wait until 70. Mark retires at 62 and finances an 8-year bridge using Susan's earnings, cash, and portfolio withdrawals. At 70, his simplified monthly benefit is the largest of the 3 choices. The household gains more guaranteed income later, but it uses more liquid resources earlier. Which strategy wins? A break-even calculator wants to answer with an age. A retirement plan needs more information. Suppose Mark has significant health problems and a family history of shorter lifespans. That may increase the value he places on receiving income sooner. It does not guarantee a shorter life, but it changes the personal trade-off. Now suppose Mark is healthy, his parents lived into their 90s, and Susan would rely heavily on his higher benefit if she outlives him. The case for a larger later benefit may become more attractive. Again, that is not a guarantee. It is risk management. Now suppose their portfolio is only barely large enough to fund 8 years of delay. Waiting until 70 could require withdrawals that leave the investment plan uncomfortably fragile. A larger Social Security check later might not compensate for taking too much stress out of the portfolio early. Now suppose they have a large pension that covers nearly all essential spending until age 70. In that case, delaying Mark's benefit may require very little portfolio sacrifice. The same Social Security estimate produces a different answer because the surrounding retirement system is different. This is the central lesson. The claiming age is not a standalone optimization problem. It is a coordination problem. Social Security has to coordinate with spending. It has to coordinate with investments. It has to coordinate with work. It has to coordinate with taxes. It has to coordinate with the needs of a spouse. And it has to coordinate with the kind of risks the household most wants to reduce. This is why the phrase maximize Social Security can be misleading. You can maximize one monthly check and still weaken another part of the retirement plan. You can also claim earlier and give up later guaranteed income, even when you did not actually need the money early. The goal is not to maximize one number. The goal is to build the strongest overall income plan. There is another behavioral trap worth noticing. Some people claim at 62 because they are afraid Social Security will disappear. Others wait until 70 because they are afraid claiming earlier will make them look financially foolish. Neither fear is a strategy. Policy uncertainty is real, and future laws can change. But current claiming decisions still have to be made using current law, personal circumstances, and reasonable planning assumptions. A decision based entirely on panic can create a permanent trade-off without a clear purpose. There is also a psychological difference between getting a check and spending a portfolio. Mark may feel comfortable depositing Social Security every month, but uncomfortable selling investments to finance a delay. Susan may feel exactly the opposite. She may prefer spending some portfolio assets now in exchange for more guaranteed income later. Those preferences matter because a retirement plan has to be usable by the people who own it. But preferences should be made visible. If Mark says he wants to claim at 62 because selling investments feels frightening, he should recognize that fear is part of the decision. If Susan says she wants to wait until 70 because the larger number feels safer, she should recognize that preference too. Once the emotional reason is visible, it can be compared with the financial reason. That produces a more honest decision. So how should Mark and Susan actually evaluate 62, 67, and 70? They can begin with 7 questions. The first question is whether they truly need Mark's Social Security income now. If the answer is yes, claiming earlier may solve a real cash flow problem. If the answer is no, the value of early claiming should be examined more carefully. The second question is what they would have to spend while waiting. If delay requires aggressive portfolio withdrawals, that cost belongs in the comparison. If a pension or Susan's wages cover the gap, delay may be easier. The third question is how strong their portfolio remains under each claiming age. Do not compare only Social Security totals, compare ending portfolio flexibility, withdrawal pressure, and exposure to bad early market returns. The fourth question is how important larger guaranteed income becomes later in life. This is where longevity risk enters the decision. The fifth question is what happens to the surviving spouse. For a married couple, the higher earner's decision may have consequences long after the higher earner dies. The sixth question is whether work changes the near-term result. If Mark continues working before full retirement age, the earnings test may affect the timing of actual payments. The seventh question is how Social Security fits with taxes and the rest of the withdrawal plan. These 7 questions do not produce one universal claiming age. That is a feature, not a flaw. The right answer is supposed to depend on the household. Now imagine Mark takes those 7 questions and compares all 3 ages on one page. At 62, he writes immediate income, smaller monthly benefit, less portfolio spending now, and potentially less survivor protection later. At 67, he writes 5-year bridge, full retirement age benefit, moderate portfolio use, and a larger monthly base than at 62. At 70, he writes 8-year bridge, largest monthly benefit under current delayed credit rules, more portfolio support before claiming, and stronger late-life guaranteed income. Then he adds health. Then he adds Susan's situation. Then he adds taxes. Then he adds work. Then he adds how much cash they want to keep available. The answer starts looking less like a break-even contest and more like a retirement design decision. That is exactly what it should look like. Break-even math still belongs on the page. It is useful to know approximately when one cumulative stream catches another, but the number should not be treated like a command. If Mark's simple break-even age between 62 and 70 is a little after 80, that does not mean everyone who expects to live past 80 must wait. It also does not mean everyone who doubts reaching 80 should claim immediately. Expected lifespan is not the only variable. Portfolio strength matters. Spouse protection matters. Taxes matter. Cash flow needs matter. Risk tolerance matters. And the value placed on guaranteed lifetime income matters. The break-even age is one coordinate on a much larger map. There is one more mistake to avoid. Do not assume 67 is automatically the balanced or neutral choice just because it sits between 62 and 70. Full retirement age is an important Social Security rule. It is not a declaration that 67 is the correct claiming age for every person. For some households, 67 may fit beautifully. For others, 62 may solve the right problem. For others, 70 may strengthen the plan in a way the other ages cannot. The middle number is not automatically the middle risk choice. The surrounding household decides that. Mark eventually realizes that he was asking the wrong question. He had been asking how old he needed to live for waiting to pay off. Susan had been asking how large the check could become if he waited. Both questions were useful. Neither question was complete. Their real decision was about what role Social Security should play in their retirement. Should it provide income immediately, so the portfolio can remain more intact? Should it provide a larger guaranteed floor later in life? Should it strengthen Susan's protection if Mark dies first? Should it reduce the need for portfolio withdrawals in their 80s and 90s? Those are jobs. Once Mark and Susan identify the job, the claiming age becomes easier to evaluate. They may still choose 62. They may choose 67. They may choose 70. The point is not that one age is secretly best. The point is that the reason should be stronger than a single break-even number. Before claiming, look at your current Social Security estimate. Then look at the amount available at different claiming ages. But do not stop there. Write down how much income your household needs before and after Social Security begins. Estimate what your portfolio would have to provide while you wait. Consider whether one spouse is the higher earner and what survivor income may matter later. If you are still working, check the current retirement earnings test rules. Review how Social Security fits with your tax and withdrawal plan. Think about the value of higher guaranteed income if you live a very long time. Then compare those factors with the value of receiving money earlier. That is a retirement decision. A break-even calculator is only one tool inside it. Social Security at 62 gives you more years of checks but a smaller monthly amount under the assumptions we used. Social Security at 67 gives you the full retirement age amount for someone whose full retirement age is 67. Social Security at 70 gives you a larger monthly amount under current delayed retirement credit rules, but only after you finance the waiting period. Each path solves a different problem well. Each path gives something up. The best claiming age is therefore not automatically the age that wins the cumulative dollar race. It is the age that best supports the risks your retirement plan actually needs to solve. Do not ask only when you get your money back. Ask what job you need Social Security to do for the rest of your life. That question will not make the decision effortless, but it will make the decision much more complete.